There we go. Hey everybody, how you doing? All right, so today we are going to be doing intro, or actually, belay my last. We're actually going to be doing creating an ORM from scratch. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to get started coding from a completely blank template, and you guys are going to help me out. Can you guys see everything okay? Thumbs up. Cool. Sweet. Awesome. So let me move your pictures over here so I can see all your smiley faces. All right, cool. So we're in a completely blank project, and we're not going to use a bundler for this. So who can tell me some of the stuff I need to do to get started? Again, we're going to do kind of a CLI project and also embed an ORM into it. But actually, before we even talk about file tree, who can tell me what an ORM is?
Object relational mapping, I believe.
Nice. And what does that mean?
That means you're basically taking a database and making each line in the table equivalent to an instance of an object. You're mapping them to each other.
Nice. And which way is the line? Is it up and down or left and right?
A line is left and right. A column is up and down.
Okay. Well, row, right?
Right. Yeah. You know what I mean.
All right, cool. Yeah, that's actually a perfect definition, right? So that's exactly right. Taking the SQL database, taking all the rows, turning them into objects. Perfect. Awesome. So if we're gonna do this via a CLI app, and just to give you some context, we're gonna do like a Twitter type CLI thing where you can make a tweet, and then we'll save the tweets in the database, and it'll let you make a tweet or read all the tweets or delete a tweet. And we'll just go until we hit about an hour, and then wherever we're at, we'll call it. But we'll hopefully get to see some good ORM stuff. So if I'm going to make a CLI, what do I? Oh, you know what? I just got an email saying that people are waiting for me in Zoom, which means I think some people are in the wrong location. Well, we've already gotten started, so we're just going to keep going. But yeah, we're not going to worry about that. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and start building our file tree. So what do I need to make? We just did our project. You guys know this. what are some directories I need to have for CLI?
Lib is one of them.
Okay. Actually, you know what? Let's make a folder to hold everything. So let's do I'll call it Twitter CLI, and I'll go ahead and put my lib inside of that. All right, cool. So lib. Okay. So what else?
We need bin.
Okay. What else?
I mean, depending on how you want to build it, you can make a config file.
I like it. Awesome. And one more thing we're going to make that we didn't have in our project is going to be a DB file. So we can put a little database in there. All right, cool. So the way that I want to do this and the way I like to code a lot, if I don't like, so, you know, ideally in a big project, you sit down, you draw out your objects and you do a little bit of planning. But if I ever am bad and I don't do that, what I like to do is I like to start coding from wherever the project starts. And then I'll just kind of work my way. So I'll start from user interaction. I'll work my way down to like the database and the business logic and all that kind of stuff. So where does the user, like actually, where do we start running this application?
Inside of bin.
Cool.
You have to create a file inside of it.
What do we want to call it?
Whatever you want. You can call it run. You can call it the name of whatever you're building.
Yeah, I would call it like Twitter CLI. But then you don't have a dot anything. There's no like file type, right? Because we'll tell it within the file to use Ruby.
With what? What are we going to use it to tell it to use Ruby?
Shebang. Shebang.
Exactly, shebang. Nice. Good way to remember it too. All right. Anybody remember what the shebang looks like?
No, I always have to copy and paste it.
Hashtag bang. Hashtag bang, I think it is.
All right. What else?
Now there's like user, like, right? USR,
Yeah, isn't it
yeah,
like
it's
bin?
/USR. Yeah, you're right.
right?
And then
That one or this one?
Backslash. Wait,
no,
Yeah.
it's /. Yeah, it's /.
one?
whatever that one is.
Then what's after this one?
Bin?
Yeah, isn't it bin and then /env?
ENV. Okay. Sorry, I'm doing some Slack work to get all the people in the wrong study group over here. So ENV, gotcha. All right, and so do you guys all agree with what we have so far?
I think he said bin/env.
Yeah, I think it was bin.
Bin/env. Good, you passed my first test. Congratulations. All right. Is this it or is there something else?
That was,
Ruby. You
oh
need to
yeah.
space and then Ruby.
All right, cool. Does this look good to everybody?
The only thing I'm not sure of is there, and you guys might be able to tell me, is there supposed to be a space at the beginning there? Or is it just,
No, there's no spaces. Only
Well done.
spaces after environment or env.
Nice. Yes, you guys are exactly right. Awesome. So sorry, I'm just finishing up this chat to make sure everyone knows where to go.
Do it.
All right, cool. So we had our shebang, and what does the shebang do again?
It tells. Go ahead, Cody.
it tells this file to run Ruby, and it tells this file where Ruby lives in our computer.
All right, cool. Exactly right. Awesome. So we got our shebang. Now what do we need?
We're going to need to instantiate a new instance. And
Okay,
then
sure.
call that instance.
Let's call it tweets app. And let's just say .new.start. That's pretty good. We'll write that later. Is that all we need? Are we good to go to start making this now?
We can set our requirements here too.
Set our what now?
Requirements.
Ooh,
We
how do I
don't
do
really
that?
have any. Require and then whatever our requirements are.
Let's do require relative, right? Because we want to do relative files. So we like to use require relative for this. So what do we want to do?
Well, you could create an environment file and then require that here.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we want to do. So we have this config folder. So that's what we'll end up doing. So what do we want to require?
I think it would be Twitter CLI /config/env or environment, whatever we call it.
Let's call it end. Do you guys all agree with this?
Yeah.
So what folder are we starting in?
We're in the bin file. Is
Okay,
where
so
we're starting.
We're in the bin folder right now. So what does ... do?
It goes back one level.
So what am I in after I go back one level?
Oh, we're already in Twitter CLI there, so we don't need that.
Cool.
And then it's only one dot, right?
If
No,
it's
I think
one,
it's still two dots, right?
yep, because we
Dots
got to
too?
get out
Okay.
of bin. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
All right, cool. So now we got two things on our to-do list, right? We have to make our M file and we have to make this class tweets app. So let's go ahead and do let's just go in order. So let's make this config/env. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to say touch config env.rb. Cool. So what do I want to put in here? Keeping in mind that what I want to do on line 5 here.
Well, we're going to have to require the other files.
Okay, so what file do we know we're going to have to require?
Bin/run.
So we're starting out in bin/run. So do we need to require config, which then requires bin/run?
No, you're right.
I think you would require lib/tweet app or tweets app, whatever you called it. But require relative.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, quote, You have to have it in quotes.
I would make you tell me everything.
And then before lib, it's going to be, let's see, we're in config, so / lib. Yeah.
Cool. I think that works. Cool. I like it. Everybody feel good about this? Anyone not feel good about this? Are y'all good? Cool. All right. And now what I want to do too is I want to talk about what we need to do now to make this work as a, actually, you know what? We're going to come back to that. So let's keep working until we get to the point where we're doing some ORM stuff. Just remember that our config file is going to play an important part in that. Cool. So we've required lib/tweetsap, and we want to be able to call tweetsap.new.start. So what do I need to do next?
Make a tweetsap class.
Okay, where do I want to do that?
The lib tweets, whatever it was called, tweetsap, tweets.
Yeah, like this?
I don't remember what we called it on the other one. Tweets underscore. Yes, yeah.
Okay, cool. So now I got my tweetsap. Where's that going to be?
Inside.
Perfect. Sorry, I answered your question before you could do it. All right, so what do I want to do here?
Define the class.
Okay, what do I want to call the class?
Whatever. Tweetsap.
All right, cool. Now, what do I want to do? Am I good to go? Could I run this and could it work?
Well, it doesn't do anything. We need to make the method.
Does it not do anything, or will it error out right now?
It might give you some kind of error.
What error would we get right now?
No undefined method start.
There you go. All right, so what do I need to do? The goal of this first step is I want to print hello screen to the hello world to the screen, so I know that like kind of everything's wired up correctly. So that's what I want that to happen when I run this. So what do I need to do now?
The start method,
Okay.
and then puts hello world.
Cool. So let's see if I run it, if this works. Do you guys think it's gonna work?
Do you have a? Let's see. Oh, you have the method. Yeah.
I think so.
Are you calling start in your when you run it? Yeah. Okay.
Let me just give myself permissions to execute. All right, so let's do it. bin/Twitter CLI. User bin env, bad interpreter, not a directory. Oh, did you guys mess up the shebang?
Apparently. This is why.
Does it not? Does it not? Does it not start with a slash? Is it just hash bang?
So
User?
this is what you guys said, and this is the correct one. What's the difference?
A slash on the end.
So close. You guys are so close. Unterminated string meets end of file.
Are those double quotes on both of them? I
I can't
barely-
see. It's so small.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry guys. Yeah, just let me know. There we go. Make it real big.
Yeah. No, that looks okay.
Bin/.
Does it have to be a class method? Self.start? No.
What is this?
Oh,
What is this?
it's missing a. It's missing a
Oh, at the end quote.
comma.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of env.
Nice.
Ah,
There it is. Hello world. All right,
Yay.
cool. We're wired up correctly. Great. All right. So now that I'm wired up, let's talk about what we want this app to do, right? Because right now we have everything connected. So let's start out really simply. What I want to do is just go ahead and make a while loop inside of start, and we'll change this later. We might keep the while loop, but right now I'm just going to have it just loop around continuously. And I want to be able to put in a username and a message, and then make a new tweet, and then save the tweet, and then display all the tweets. And we'll just do that forever for now. And then we'll add other functionality. So I'm just going to set that up for you guys real quick. We're going to while true. We're going to say puts, enter a username. And then if I say username equals, what do I want to put here? I'll still quiz you a little bit. What do I put here?
Gets.strip.
Nice.
Script.
All right, so now I want to instantiate a tweet. So what do I want to put into the tweet?
Characters.
Yeah, string.
Well, I have a username and message, right? So let's just initialize with those two things. And I also want to, so because my database is going to return a hash to me, I actually want to, I want to do it this way. You guys ever seen this type of instantiation where you can kind of do it with key value pairs?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm making my tweet. I want to be able to say tweet.save, and then I want to, let's then put out all the tweets. So let's call render tweet, all right? And then let's make another method down here where we actually render all the tweets. So how would I do that? I know I haven't made the tweet class yet, but we have a tweet, which we know has a username and message. So how would I render all of them?
You would have maybe in the tweet class, like the method called tweet.all, and then
Okay.
you can bring that into your CLI and then iterate through that, all of those tweets to display what we want to display.
So tweet.all, and then iterate through them.
What are we exactly displaying here?
Huh?
What are we displaying with this render tweet method?
So I really just want to kind of display a tweet. So a tweet has a username and a message. So I just want to display those two things in some sort of like human readable format. So we can do this a bunch of ways, but I think this would look good. If I just said put, and I said something like interpolated the index, right? Put a dot, and then maybe like tweet.username, a new line here, and then tweet.message, and then a few new lines.
Mhm.
Does that look good to you guys? We all good with this? For a render tweets method, method?
So I was on the right track.
Yeah, you said it exactly right.
Okay.
You said it exactly right. All right, awesome. All right, cool. So now is the hard part. Now we start getting to the ORM stuff. Now we need to start coding this tweet, which we've used without actually coding it yet. So where do I want to put it?
In a tweets array?
Well, no, I want to make this tweet class, right? So where do I want to put that file?
Oh, in lib?
Mhm.
So you want to create a new file, right?
Mhm. Here we go. Tweet.rb. Let me save this guy. So let's start, before we get into RM, let's just make it so this works, given this code that I've written here, right? So we have a tweet that needs to be initialized with a username and message, and we need to have an all array and a reader for that all, right? So how am I going to do that?
So outer accessor for the username and message.
Okay. How does
And
this look?
Sure.
I mean, I would do like the keyword arguments. So username, colon,
Yeah.
Nice.
comma, message, colon.
Awesome. Does anybody have any questions about this syntax here? Is this new to
Yeah,
anybody?
I only
Yep.
just saw that yesterday.
Okay, do you get what's happening?
No.
Okay, so it's literally exactly the same as what we normally see. The only difference, so like when I'm inside my initialize, I still, like, if I did it the normal way, I would say like at username, at message equals username, message, right? So I'm setting at username equal to username that's coming in here, and at message equal to message, which is coming in here, right? You tracking? So what I do by putting my colon here is I'm saying, okay, so instead of nothing in here has to change at this point. Like the body of my initialize is exactly the same. The only difference is now when I want like whoever's using this class, when they initialize, I want them to explicitly state which item that they're putting in there. And if we take a look at our tweets app, that's what I'm doing. I'm saying username colon and message colon. And another side effect of this is that now they can initialize it with a hash that has these two keys in it. Make sense?
Mm.
Cool. And the real reason, so there are a few times when you'd want to do this, right? One time you'd want to do this is if you have a method that takes a whole bunch of arguments and you don't want the user of your class to have to worry about what order the arguments go in. So if I had 20 arguments in here and some of them had default values and some didn't, I wouldn't want the user of my class have to go to the documentation and like remember what order all the things go in, right? So I could do it this way, where as long as they remembered what the names were, they could then put them in any order they wanted to. So that's one benefit of using it this way. The other benefit is how we're going to use it, where we're going to get a hash back from the database, and then we're going to use that hash to initialize these objects. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Awesome. So what else do I need to write inside of this, just in plain Ruby, to make, and let's get rid of this for now, to make this code work? So I've kind of taken care of that. So what do I need to write now? Or do you want to run it and see what breaks?
When you're saying save, are you saving to the tweet app class?
Yeah, so this will be, let's go ahead and comment this out for now. We're gonna do that once once we work with the but there is one more thing we can do to kind of make the normal thing that we've seen so far work. So right now, if we run it, I can enter in a username. All right, so what error did I get?
Initialize constant method because it's not required. There's nothing connecting them.
So where in my program is this?
Tweet app line 13.
So it tells me that tweet doesn't exist, but I mean, I wrote the class and the initialize should work. So why am I getting this error?
We've got to require it
Where do we want to require it?
in our environment file.
Cool. What do I type here?
// lib / tweet.
Awesome.
That should be it, yeah.
So what error are we going to get this time? Any takers?
Can you pull the other file up?
Yeah. Which one? This one? So this is our tweet?
No,
tweet.
the tweet's at. I don't know.
We still have to require in this file.
Oh, .all, yeah.
Yep. Oops. Didn't mean to do
Undefined method, no method .all.
that. Undefined method all. Nice. So how do I do that?
At all, just set it to like a blank array. And then
Is that good?
you can, well, set an accessor for it.
How do I do that?
You can just
Can I do
add,
this?
I mean, I would add it to the end of the current accessors.
Oh, just add it there. You guys all agree with this?
No.
Okay.
You can't do that for class methods, I believe.
Okay, so what do I do?
You have to create one, so def
Yeah.
self.all. And then it would just be add all.
Okay, cool. Let's see if this works. Cool, we didn't get any errors. We loop back around. Awesome. All right, sweet. So now what we want to do is start making this into the ORM, okay? Because we don't want to just save everything into this add all array, and then when we close our program, we lose everything. We have to make it all again, right? So now we actually want to start making the ORM portion. So not in code, but just like logistically, what do we need to do now to make this ORM work? What are some things we need?
A database.
Cool. I agree. So where do we want to put that?
In DB.
Okay. Do you remember how to make a new database?
Not off the top of my head.
Create table. Or
So
wait, how do you create the
that's
database?
SQL though. We have to do something before we can run that SQL.
I don't remember.
Is anybody at my intro to SQL lecture? Went over it. No, I'm just kidding. All right, cool. So what we do is we do the SQL Lite 3 command. Ringing any bells?
Yeah, and then don't you just like type the name of the database?
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's call it twitter.db. Sound good?
That's right. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so now, Caleb, now it's where you were talking. So now what do we want to do?
Don't we want to create the tables for each, a table for each class, right? So
Yeah, but-
if it's tweet, then we create table tweets.
Okay.
And then what attributes does that have? Username and messages.
We want an ID. What type? What? So we always want to put
yeah.
the ID in.
We
So
want
what's
to
that?
put the ID as a integer, and then it has to be the, I can't remember the exact name. The
Primary
Yeah,
key.
primary key.
primary key, correct.
Nice.
Thank you.
Cool. And then you said username. What type is that?
Text.
Okay.
And
Anything
then
else?
message, which is text as well.
Oh, sorry. Can I click enter right now?
No. What are the values? Do we want to set them to question marks?
Well, am I inserting a row or am I creating a table?
Oh, you're creating the table. Never mind. Create table tweets. I think that should be good. Oh, no. You need the colon, semicolon,
Which one?
semicolon.
All right. Awesome. Well, it looks like that worked. I got my twitter.db here. So let's just see if it worked. We'll quit out of that. All right. So now what we need to do is do some setup to actually connect this database to Ruby. So this is going to be a little bit new, and you might have seen it in the labs. The first thing we want to do is, well, first of all, let's get into our M file. That's where we kind of want to set everything up. So what gem do you think we need to make this work?
Wait. Say that again. What are we doing?
We're now connecting the SQL Lite database to our Ruby program. So what gem do you think we need to use?
SQL.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I'm going to go ahead and require pry just when we start troubleshooting stuff. All right, awesome. And now we're going to do, I'm going to copy and paste this. So this is what we need to do to set up our database. So we're going to make this constant DB. All right. We're going to make a connection to our SQLite 3 database, and we're getting this from the SQLite 3 gem. And then when we say .new, we're going to pass in the path to it, all right, which is db/twitter.db, this guy right here. And that's relative to our Twitter CLI root path, db twitter.db. You guys all tracking?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And then what I'm doing here is calling results as hash equals true. And that's going to make it so when I get the results back from my queries, they're going to come back as a hash. And that way I can relatively easily use them with my Ruby class. Now you'll see we're going to run into a little error. And I'll give you a hint of what it's going to be. The hashes may or may not come back as strings as keys, but we've used symbols. So there are two ways to fix it. You could just make the initialize, take an object, and then use a send. But what we're going to do is we're just going to get those, we're going to take it back as a string. We're going to continue to use this initialize because I like it better, and we're going to write a little method that cleans it up for us. So we'll get to that later. But right now, we should have a working database. So let's go ahead and go into our tweet.rb, and try to make it so we actually see a change in the database when we do this. So let's start thinking about how we're going to make that happen. So I'm going to put this .save back in there. All right. And we're going to go, and let me save the env. And now we're going to go into tweet.rb. And just broad strokes, what do we have to do to make this work?
So I think you would have to use the insert in SQL to
And
insert
what?
a line or a row into the table.
Yeah, I like it. So what method do we want to do that in? Do we want to initialize or in save? Okay, I like it. All right. And can anybody tell me what this is I'm about to do? Does anyone know the future here? All right. So what I'm doing here, what is this called?
Here, doc.
Here, doc.
What is a here doc?
It's basically a multi-line string,
Okay, cool.
I think.
Yeah, that's good. So what do I want to put here? What type of CRUD am I doing here? Ooh, does anybody remember what CRUD is? What's the C?
Create.
R.
read.
Read.
U.
Update.
Update.
D.
Delete.
Delete.
Nice. All
Or
right. Good.
quad.
Quite. Yeah.
Would.
Somebody said right, I believe, right? Last time. That's where.
Yeah.
That's
Would.
good. I'm glad you guys remember that. All right. So insert into, I believe I heard. So now what do we do?
Tweets.
You have to put your column names in here.
Right. Yeah.
Which are
Username and message.
okay.
Then
Now what?
values.
Question marks
Why question marks?
to make them optional.
Yeah. Well, you're not optional, but I think you're going to be passing them in when you call execute.
Why would I do that?
Because
Cody, do you know the answer?
Yes. You're gonna.
How do you know
do
this,
that.
by the way? Did you
So
study this
I
on
asked.
your own? You did? Okay.
I asked the same question in my group one-on-one earlier. So you're going to use question marks so that you can sanitize the SQL. That way, if you put like a value in, basically it's making it, because like if you put your message in as like drop table, it would like delete everything out. So if you use the question marks, it can only be the actual like inserted thing, and then the gem will sanitize it for us.
Yeah, exactly. It's about user sanitation to prevent something that's called a SQL insertion. And so let's look at what can happen. So I actually found on one of the labs that's coming up, it looks like it's dynamic ORMs, the README, which I guess you put code into. Let me show you how that looks. So if you look at this lab, you'll see that when they do find by name, they just do straight up string interpolation. See that? And then they don't have any parameters. So they don't use their question marks, and then they don't have any parameters here. So what happens here is if I am a malicious person using this website and I'm like, let's see if I can do something creepy here. I can do, so what I found when I did this lab is that if you say song.findByName, and then you can put anything there, and then you close off that quote. So now SQL's like, oh, because you're doing just string interpolation, now SQL thinks, oh, that quote's done, so the name's over. And now I can start writing actual SQL. So if you put in like any word here, you close out that quote, and then you write or, which is a SQL logical, and I say 1 equals 1, which will always return true. Now what's going to happen, oh, wrong one. Now what's going to happen here is this SQL thing that's going to run. It's going to say select star from the table name where name equals whatever. It's going to close the quotation and then say or 1 equals 1. So now the logic for the where is always going to be true because it's an or statement with something that's always true. So remember, an or statement returns true overall if one of the two is true. So if I said, where name equals Micah or 1 equals 1, well, it might only equal Micah once, but every other time 1 equals 1 is going to be true. So it's going to be evaluate for true for everything. And this could be dangerous because imagine if this is a bank account and I'm trying to access my account information. And I insert some SQL with an or 1 equals 1 there. Now I can get back everybody's information. And now I have everybody's bank account numbers, right? So that's where you could maliciously use SQL injection. And that's why it's important to make sure that you sanitize the SQL whenever a user puts anything in, because if you just string interpolate and they figure out a way to start actually writing SQL, now they can do almost whatever they want with your database. Make sense? Cool. Yeah, so that's why we want to do it this way, and we want to actually make sure that we are sanitizing. And luckily, it's kind of built in for us. All we have to use is our question marks. It's pretty simple. Cool. So, does anybody remember the syntax for how to actually get this in our database? And if you don't, it's fine.
I believe it's DB, then square brackets, colon, CONN, dot execute, parentheses, SQL,
SQL, yep.
comma, self dot username, comma, self dot message.
Awesome. Great job. Yeah, that's exactly right. Now, actually, I'll get to that later. We're going to come back to this, and we're going to put a little more functionality in there, but this is great. So now I have my all doesn't work yet, but it's not going to cause an error. And now we have this save, which we think will work now. You guys all think that it's worth giving it a shot? Yeah? Seeing some nods? All right. Cool. Just verbalizing that for people that watch this and can only see the screen share. All right. So I'm not steamrolling you guys over here. We do have consent. All right. So let's go ahead and open up this DB browser. And what I'm going to do is to make sure that this works, I'm going to go ahead and open this up, take a look at our database, and make sure that we see the changes we're expecting. So we're going to open database, and I'm going to try to remember where this is. So let's see, dev, Flatiron, cohort lead, study group projects, Twitter CLI, here we go, DB, twitter.db, found it. All right, cool. So right now we don't have any data. Our structure has this tweets table, which is perfect. So let's go ahead. I'll pull this over to the side for now, and we'll run our program and see if it works. So bin/Twitter CLI. All right, well, it ran. Now let's see if we have any entries here. Look at that, people. Look at that. It's a beautiful thing. So we now successfully have hooked up our database to our CLI. Awesome. So let's keep this going. Let's talk about what else we can do. You know what? Actually, we'll come back to that later. So what else do we want to be able to do? We have this add at all thing going on. Can we make this maybe work with the database instead of just being this add at all array?
Yeah, that was the purpose, right?
Yep. So do we need add at all anymore? Are we still going to use it for something?
I don't think it's necessary anymore if we're using the database.
I agree. Database is holding all the info. Awesome. So who can tell me what I want to do here? Want to write some SQL, right? What do I want to say?
Select star asterisk from tweets.
You guys all agree?
Yep.
Colon, or semicolon.
Semicolon, you got to close it up, yeah.
We didn't put a semicolon here. I guess it just does it for you. All right. Oops. All right.
Oh, that's
Cool.
right. Inside, I noticed that too, and I wanted to ask, because when we're writing SQL by itself, it does require the semicolon, but inside of the here doc, it does not. Why is that?
It's not the here doc that doesn't require, it's going to be the gem that does it for us. So whenever like this dbcon execute, when it takes the SQL, it probably just checks to make sure there's a semicolon there, and if there's not, it just tacks one on.
So it's kind of like implicit.
Yeah, you can think of it like that for sure. Awesome. All right, cool. So now we're gonna do this execution, but are we gonna get some data back this time?
We should.
Okay, so let's do this then. Let's say data equals, and then run our SQL, and let's go ahead and put a binding.pry here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a look at what data looks like. Sound good? All right, what username should I use this time? Anyone? Time to be creative. Anybody?
No.
Okay.
Just
All right,
do
fine.
like John Doe.
John Doe. All right, you guys are boring today. All right. All right, and we'll do another hello world. Awesome. So we should hit our binding pry here, right?
Yes.
Cool. Looks like we did. So now, what do we want to check?
Data.
Okay. Well, would you look at that? That looks pretty good to me. So what do we want to do with this information?
We want to insert it into the database.
Well, didn't we just get it from the database?
Oh, did we? Never mind.
We did just get it. Remember we did our
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Lost.
Yep.
Do
So
we want to display it in the terminal?
no, we don't want to do that. Remember, this is an object, a mapper to our objects, right? So how are we going to map? We're getting back a hash right now. How are we going to map this to an object?
Oh, so we want to go like the other direction.
Yeah.
We already made it from. Oh no, we didn't even. Hold on, now I'm confused.
Well, yeah, you're right. We took an object. When we
Yeah.
saved it, we took it from an object, we put it into the SQL database. And
So
now we're
going
taking,
the opposite direction.
exactly.
Okay.
Oh, so now I guess we have to instantiate an object from the data.
I like it. So what can we do to do that?
Do we call our new method?
Okay.
Do we
But-
do that?
But what type of data did we get back?
It's a hash.
Well, a hash
It's
of
an array.
rows, basically.
Is it a hash or an array?
It's an
An array of hashes.
So can I get multiple things, right? So they're each individual elements in the array. So what can I do to map these to objects? Object relational mapper.
You could iterate over them.
Using what method?
Map.
Map. Okay. I was gonna say,
Yeah,
there'd be some smart ass that says collect. Yeah, I knew you were gonna say collect. All right. Yeah. All right. We're gonna use map because I said so. All right. Data.map do. All right. So let's call it tweet data. Now, this is where we're gonna run into that little issue that I talked about before. Now, what's the issue we're going to run into? Actually, there are two issues we're going to run into here. So one has to do with the keys. So what's the issue? What would happen if I tried to do this?
Well, you'd get an error because the keys that are currently in the hash that we would be putting into it are in strings, whereas it's looking for symbols.
Yeah. So we could do something like boring, and we could say like tweet data username and say like username, but I don't do that because that's stupid. So what I want to do is I want to make it so I could just put in tweet data here. So one thing I need to do, like what Cody says, I need to turn the keys into symbols. What's another thing I need to do? What's different about this than it is about this? What are the differences? How many keys?
They have IDs.
Oh yeah, ID isn't
Yeah.
one of the arguments.
And ideally, I do want to have an ID, right? I want to be able to like find by ID or delete by ID. I want to be able to do all those things, right? So let's go ahead and try to figure out a way to incorporate the ID into this object. So when I make it, before I save it, what's ID going to be?
Nil.
Okay. So what can I do?
ID equals nil.
ID colon no.
Awesome. So I'm giving that default value. So now when I put an ID in with a hash, it'll work because I'll have it there. And when I don't put it in there, it'll have a default value. Awesome. Cool. What else do I need to do? Actually, you already told me. So how do I do? The big question is, how do I do this? Let's make a helper method. What do I want to call it?
New self.new.
Well, I don't want this to be a constructor. Excuse me. I don't want to be a constructor. I actually want to just change these strings to keep
Oh,
big hashes. So what would be a good name for this? About like transform data, right? I'm just transforming those keys to symbols. All right, and I'm not going to make you guys do this because actually, I mean, it's harder than you might think. So I'm just going to write it out. So a way you can do this is just say data dot each with object. Have you ever heard of each with object?
No.
It's a lot. If you ever heard of inject or reduce, so it's a lot like reduce, except instead of having to return the thing that you want to return every time, it returns whatever the object is implicitly, which is super nice. So I'm going to use this one today, and we'll talk about what's happening. So each with object is going to give me two local variables here. Now, but the first one, because it's a hash, will be a key value pair. And the second one I'm going to call memo. Memoization is a term for putting something into memory. And because I'm putting, so when I put this hash here, this automatically, whatever I initialize it with here, gets put into this second local variable here. And what I'm using this for is I'm kind of aggregating all of my information together, right? Because I'm going through one key value pair at a time, and I'm constructing this new hash from each individual key value pair. So I'm going to call that memo for memoization. And what I'm going to do here is just say memo. So there's my hash. I'm going to make a new key, which is just the whole old key to symbol. So I'm not taking that string, turning it into a symbol, and I'm saying I want the key value pair to be this. Now, if I had reduce here, if you guys are familiar with reduce, what I'd have to do is end up returning memo. So this is the only difference. The only difference between each with object and reduce is that I would have to put a semicolon, put a second line there that return memo, and these two local variables switch direction. Besides that, it's exactly the same. It's just kind of implicitly returning memo for me. So this looks kind of intimidating, but all that I'm really doing is I'm taking my original hash, I'm getting the key value pairs one at a time, I'm getting a blank hash that gets recycled every time, populated however I populate it in each iteration, and I'm adding a key value pair to be the same as the old key value pair, except that I'm turning the key into a symbol. Does that kind of make sense? Awesome. So now I can just say self.transform data, and then now I'm good. Taking that tweet data, turning the keys into a symbol, and instantiating. What do you guys think? Cool? Awesome. So let's see if this will work theoretically at this point. We don't know if we made a mistake, but let's take a look. So we have our while true, that's all fine. And then if our tweets.all works correctly, it looks like we're going to do tweet.username, tweet.message. So let's do this. Instead of each with index, what if we just got the tweet and just said like tweet.id? What do you think about that? Cool? Do you want to give it a run? See if it works? Yeah? All right, let's do it. Let's see. Sally Smith. I'm getting no help from the peanut gallery. Uh-oh. What happened?
No method ID. Oh, we didn't make a attribute accessor.
Nice, but we're not going to. We're going to do an attribute reader.
Reader.
Because we don't ever. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say you're actually only writing from the database the ID. You're not actually like writing it in Ruby.
Exactly. So here we're practicing the OOP principle of
Encapsulation.
nice. Perfect. Anybody have any questions on what a encapsulation is? No? Cool. It will be tested upon. And now I have positive confirmation that you all know it. All right, so Sally Smith. Oh, we already did Sally Smith because she's going to be in there because the save worked. So let's do Luke P. No reaction. All right. Anybody know? No. All right. So that's interesting. Gathering some data here. All right. So message is look at that. Oh man, all of my tweets are on the screen. That's exciting, right? You guys excited? You don't look very excited. You should be more excited. What?
I said super excited.
Oh, okay. I thought you said that was weird. I was like, oh well. tell us how you really feel.
Really
All
want.
right. Cool. Awesome. All right. So let's see. Let's do a time check. All right. We're at time. I'm gonna hang out and do one more method, and then what I'll do is I can give you guys some or I can work on this later for you guys, and then send you a link to the completed code that kind of shows you a full ORM that has a bunch of different types of methods. Sound good? So if you guys want to go, you can go. I'll if you want to hang around for it'll probably just be 5 minutes. We'll do one more method and call it a day. Sound good?
Cool.
All right. Awesome. So let's talk about what we want to do. Let's what method do you want to work on? Any functionality you want. Anything you want. The world is your oyster.
Can we, I'm just figuring out, can we do like a find by name or find by ID or something like that?
Yeah, let's do it.
I was just gonna suggest that.
Aw, you guys are on the same wavelength. Let's do self.find. Let's do find by ID. Cool. So what arguments should this take?
ID.
I like your thinking. All right. What do we want to do inside of it?
SQL equals quotations.
What do you want to do here, Doc? So
Here.
I mean, you can do either. It doesn't really matter.
you're right. It doesn't matter. I like here docs because it gives me syntax highlighting.
Oh, true. Select. Select from. No, select star from. Tweets. Sorry, I'm like talking really slow right now. I think it should be if.
Isn't it where?
Oh, where, right. Where ID equals question mark.
All right. You guys all agree? Yeah.
With that.
It's gonna work, but can we put a semicolon for my sanity?
See, I feel the same way. Like I noticed that you don't need it, but I've been doing it anyway. Just
I've been doing the same thing.
consistency's sake.
I always forget the semicolon, so I kind of enjoy it, but you know, whatever, guys. I'll do it your way, I guess.
You wouldn't forget it all the time if you were used to typing it.
Thanks, Mom. All right. All right. My mom always gives me coding tips, right? So annoying. Moms, right? All right, cool. All right. So, sweet. So let's do this. So, do we want anything returned from this?
Probably.
So, do we want to set up a local variable to capture whatever comes back?
Yes.
Okay. Let's call it data. Data. Now what?
It would be capital DB brackets colon CONN dot execute SQL comma ID.
Cool. Do I put a semicolon here?
No.
No, I think you're good.
You thought about it. All right, cool. And now what I want to do.
You probably just want to return data.
So I want to turn that hash.
Oh, but wait, you want to, I think, because this is going to return an array, I think, you want to get the first.
I think this would be a good idea. Let's do a binding.pry. Let's see what we get back. But let's also, let's enter, before we do this, let's go ahead and say, what do you want to do? And we'll just do a really quick thing here. So thing to do equals gets.strip, and we'll say if if thing to do is we'll just call it ID. Who cares? All right, so this is something we'll flesh out later. I'll flesh out later and send it to you guys. But let's just say because we want to test it, right? So if it's thing to do equals ID, then we'll say puts please enter an ID to search for, and then we'll say ID equals gets.strip.toI, and we can say tweet equals tweet, and what do I want to say here? Tweet equals tweet what?
Dot ID.
What do I pass in?
ID.
Cool. All right, and how do I display this tweet? So now that I'm displaying a single tweet, what refactor would you guys do here? About something like this.
Yeah, you could do that, and then just, yeah, for each tweet, display tweet. Tweet.
Yep. And what object-oriented principle is that?
Abstraction.
Yes. Crushed it. Nice. Awesome job. All right, cool. And so we'll say display tweet. We'll put in the tweet. All right. So what we're going to do here is, but still, we're not quite there yet, because what we want to do is get this binding.pry. So what's going to happen if all went well is that we'll go ahead and we'll type in ID. It'll put us into this if, and then it'll say, please enter an ID. We'll put in the ID and we'll hit the binding pry, see if we can find it. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And so I'll put in like 3 or something and see if we can get it. Sound good? All right. Look at that. First try. Good job, guys. All right. So now what do we want to look? What were we confused about?
The return value of data.
Right. What does data look like?
Data
So
is,
looks like you were correct. It is an array.
Yes. So I think you would want to do dot first at the end of that line.
Okay. I like it. All right. Now what?
And then return data.
What's ORM stand for?
Object relational mapping.
So it's not HERM for hash relational mapping?
Oh, okay. So
Gotcha.
we actually want to return an object.
Yeah. Even though to be fair, hashes are like that'll be not technically an object, but we want to turn our own object, right? We want to turn our tweet object. So
Yeah.
what do I do?
didn't we like already build a method that does this? Can't see anymore, but I feel like we, well, I know we'd have to transform it. And then don't we have it so we'd have to transform it and then save it.
What is saving it to?
Yeah, that's going to do like the opposite of what we want.
Yeah.
Saving it would then put it back in the database.
Yeah.
Remember, save is like we put in like a Ruby object from the program that's not in the database yet, and then save puts it in the database. We're getting this from the database, so now we only care about like using it in the rest of our program as a Ruby object. So what do I want to return?
We want to do self.new.
Okay. What do I pass in?
Data. No.
Close.
Actually,
yeah, you could do data, and then you could do the key names.
yeah,
well-
data username.
Why don't I just use this thing?
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, guys. I put all that work in. All right, cool. All right, so we took out that binding prop. Now what we see? I put in a ID name. What do we want to? How do we know if this worked? Anyone?
I guess if it displays an ID, or not an ID, if it displays an object.
Yeah, if it displays that, we wrote this nice little display tweet method, right? So it displays out the tweet that I selected. It has the right ID, and we know we did it right. Yeah, cool. So let's do it. That looks pretty good to me. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, ORM. Look at that. Now we're back to Ruby. Yay. Freeze frame. All right, cool. Yeah, good job, guys. So this is something too that's actually pretty easy to mess around with yourself. So you want to make a little project on your own. If you during break week you want to do something, you want to add a database to your CLI project, maybe, and so you can mess around with this. It reinforces SQL because you're still writing SQL, and it adds a way for you to have persisted data in your app, which is pretty cool. Any questions for me? I'm gonna stop recording real quick, actually.